The riffs are too repetitive, the lyrics make no sense. All the songs are B-sides and the cover art's a mess. There's so much here to tear apart. Listen to it for a week, now that week has passed. It's Why I Hate This Album podcast with Tim and Garrett.
Hello and welcome to another very special all-new episode of Why I Hate This Album. I am one of your hosts, Garrett Harvey. With me, as always, co-host extraordinaire, Timothy Richardson. Tim, how are you doing?
I am doing great.
That is so nice to hear, but a little suspicious. Normally, you're confused, perplexed, dismayed, downtrodden, or just beaten. What's got you in such a good mood?
Well, Garrett, this week we listened to a single song, Tom Petty's Mary Jane's Last Dance.
Let us explain. This show is a delight. We love doing this show. That having been said, it is killing us. The pace at which we are listening to albums, taking extensive notes, and guys, you may not believe it, but if you ever heard the raw version of the show, I mean, Tim, they're what, 7-10 hours?
Something like that.
I mean, we really dissect these things. We distill it down, and we give you the best hour to 90 minutes we possibly can. But in order to continue to give you the quality show that Tim and I demand, we needed to come up with a way in which we could invest more time into each album while still giving you guys a weekly show that you could enjoy. And so we have come up with a new cadence to the show. You're still going to get the Why I Hate This Album classic format that you have come to grow and love. However, every other week, we're going to change it up a little bit. You're now going to know 1 week in advance the album that's coming up for the next episode. Every other week, you're still going to get the show that you know and love. But in between those shows, we are going to take the opportunity to focus on a single or a single with a hilarious video and bring you the same song deconstruction theories and expertise that we do on an entire album. You're also going to get music news. We're going to catch up on new and interesting facts about some of our favorite artists. So we're still going to give you a great show every week. We're just going to space out the full album reviews a bit more. Did I leave anything out, Tim?
Nope.
Then enough of this bluster. Let's dive into the very first Prepisode. You set it up top, Tim. Mary Jane's Last Dance, released November 1993. Do you hate this song?
Definitely not. I would probably put this song up with some of the best of Thomas's catalog.
Agreed.
Don't know how I feel about the music video, though. I don't think I hate it, but it is probably the most bizarre music video when paired with the song that I've ever seen.
I can firmly say I do not hate the music video because it is wacky. So Tim, tell us, what is your personal history with Mr. Petty, and if you have any, with this song itself?
This probably was one of my earliest introductions to Thomas's music, and the first album I ever got of his was this Greatest Hits album that features this song. I've seen him live probably 4 or 5 times. I have a 20-year history with this song. What about you?
Pretty similar tale. I think this was the first hit of the 90s for him, so that's probably when he came on my radar. I was 10. And also, Tim, this song in particular may have made it onto a rather famous early mix CD of mine, the Shaggy mix, as we like to refer to it.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, this goes with Shaggy.
It was the Napster days, Tim. You got what you got, and you put it on a single CD, and you felt pretty cool about it. That's enough about our history, Tim, but take us on a small journey on Mr. Petty's past and how this song may have come to be.
Tom Petty is from Gainesville, Florida, so that should put him in our crosshairs already.
Strike one.
He got into rock and roll at the age of 10 when he met Elvis Presley, and he dropped out of high school at 17 to form a band. He worked on the grounds crew of the University of Florida and did briefly work as a gravedigger at about this time. People on the interwebs are claiming, people are saying, on occasion he would find it funny to kind of move the bodies or put them in weird positions to creep out coworkers. I don't know if that's true.
Well, how do you feel about that, Tim? If you came in and the corpses were arranged around a dinner table with a fresh turkey, that'd be hilarious.
Now, whenever you say the corpses, it makes it sound like you have a set number of corpses.
It's not one, I guess, is a little funny.
Well, right. No, I'm not saying that more corpses isn't funnier. What I'm saying is, when you say the corpses, it makes it sound like you are referring to a specific set of corpses that you have.
No, I don't have any corpses. I'm just saying, if you found yourself in the situation where you were working, what did you say it was, coroner's office?
Gravedigger. Which I would argue a gravedigger shouldn't have access to bodies.
Yeah, it's either a lie, which we're going to hope it is, or he was breaking some laws. Is it illegal to hilariously position a corpse?
Yes. It is at least a fireable offense.
Agreed. Continue.
I'm not going to go through his entire musical career. Most people know at least bits and pieces of it. He had a huge musical career with the Heartbreakers starting in the 70s. Again, like you mentioned, resurgence in the 90s. He played with the Traveling Wilburys, including George Harrison, Bob Dylan, Roy Orbison, Jeff Lynne. And, that spanned until his unfortunate death in 2017. He has sold 80 million total albums. He's got about the same sales as Red Hot Chili Peppers, Van Halen, The Doors, and Reba McEntire. He's got 8 platinum records. He's got 1 diamond record. Actually, this record that this came out on, the greatest hits, sold over 12 million copies in the US alone. The song of the day, Mary Jane's Last Dance, was originally released on 1993's Greatest Hits, and it came about because he owed his record company 1 or 2 more singles. He didn't want to put out a full album, I guess, so he just stuck them on a Greatest Hits record. That's almost strike 2, because we've come across this.
Oh, sure.
And it's never a good sign for your band.
Do you know what the other new song, the A-side to this B-side single was?
I didn't know this was a B-side.
It's the B-side to You Don't Know How It Feels. Another very popular song.
Yeah, we should probably get into the song itself.
So first of all, let me say I like the song. I know the song. I know every word to the song. I did stumble onto something that I was not aware of. Tim, in the research, did you notice a song called Waiting for the Sun by the Jayhawks?
Yes.
Did you listen to Waiting for the Sun by the Jayhawks?
I did.
Notice anything weird?
Yeah, it's the same song.
Yeah, so folks, you probably haven't done the research, and nor should you. Our own producer barely does the research, and we pay him an exorbitant amount of money. Well, producer, custodian, and legal advisor.
Yeah.
Anyway, go listen to this. It is straight up stolen. And now you might be saying, well, maybe they'd never heard it before. Well, here's the problem. The Jayhawks were the opening act for Petty's tour in 1992. Keyboardist Benmont Tench, which is not a name, played on both Waiting for the Sun and Mary Jane's Last Dance. Let's talk about the title, Tim. Mary Jane's Last Dance. Did you know that was the title to this song?
I did. Yeah, well, it was originally titled Indiana Girl.
It should be called Last Dance with Mary Jane.
Yeah, agreed. The song seems to be about a short-term fling with a girl from a small town. It might also be about pot. Tom Petty said, "I don't think I was writing about pot. I think it was just a girl's name."
Yes, I tend to believe Petty. I also think he probably wrote most of it. Not the music, though. That was written by the Jayhawks.
Yes, most people are probably familiar with this song. I think it's well deserving of its classic rock pop culture status. Really, the only negative thing I can think of about this song is just how prevalent it is. Anywhere you currently live in the United States, it is currently playing on some radio station.
Absolutely, if not a number of them.
Yeah.
So overexposure, not their fault. I guess the only other criticism I could possibly throw at this is it's not really about much.
Sure, but unlike most of the songs we do, it's got just enough specifics to give it kind of a personality.
It's a good song. I'm struggling to criticize it.
But had you seen the music video before this week?
I had, as a young lad.
Oh, that must have screwed you right up.
Tough to say, Tim. It's
hard to know what did this to you.
Yeah, I like to think it takes a village. I watched a lot of music videos as a child, and certainly this one was among the mix. Here's the beauty of childhood innocence. I just assumed I didn't get it. Now, as an adult, I can tell you I 100% got it, and I wish I didn't. Let's talk about this video. Had you ever seen this video?
Nope, not until about a week ago.
That must have been confusing.
It was. This video is probably the reason we're doing this format for this show, because it is so bizarre we have to talk about it.
We had to dedicate a show.
If nothing else, this show will serve as a PSA for people to go watch this video. It is at about 28 million views. I imagine it will double that in a week.
I am toying with the idea, Tim, of doing a commentary track over the music video and putting that online, because a lot of my notes really take us through the story that these images are telling us, and by God, they're terrifying. And I emphasize images because almost nothing about the song Mary Jane's Last Dance is represented visually in the music video.
Right. I mean, let's get it out of the way. The video features, at a minimum, implied necrophilia on the part of Mr. Petty.
It's certain, though, though, right?
It is, yeah.
He's banging that corpse.
He is banging it, and I
But
think...
we shouldn't get too advanced, Tim. We got to explain to the listener who may not have yet seen the video, where do you get that corpse
Okay, sure.
to bang?
Thomas is a pirate blouse-wearing morgue assistant who wakes up on a coroner's table. I guess he's been napping. He starts pulling the sheets down to reveal a bunch of spotless dead people, and he comes across a dead Kim Basinger. Speaking of no one's looking, he takes the table that she's on and just wheels it out of the place.
Oh, Tim, we need to back it up and really dive into the details. Before he steals this corpse, he unzips the bag to reveal a woman so breathtaking he is almost stricken to the point of collapse. He then begins stroking her lips with his fingers and caressing her hands of a dead woman.
Yeah.
You can see in his eyes this woman is far too beautiful to be wasted by decaying in the ground. So as you... Oh, I almost left out the weirdest detail. You don't see it, but once again, it is implied that he checks out her gear. Did you notice that?
Oh, he does.
As he goes to zip the body bag back up, you notice that the bag is pulled well below her torso, thus implying he was just like, well, her face is beautiful, but if I'm going to risk stealing a corpse for the purposes of having intercourse with it, I better make sure her gear's in shape.
Well, I don't even know if it's the risk. I just think he doesn't want to expend the effort.
Picky.
You don't want to get a corpse all the way back to your house that you can't bang.
I'm unclear about what the exact specifications are to make it okay. Please do not tell me.
He wheels her out of there, and there's
Did you notice the security guard?
Yeah, well, there's another corner there that kind of gives him a dirty look. And then there's a security guard that at first it looks like he's giving a dirty look, and then he kind of nods a little.
Mm-hmm.
He's into it.
You know what that tells me?
He's into it. He's done it too.
There's an arrangement here.
Yeah, that's
It's a bit of a nod, a bit of a, as you were, sir. I don't know if he's paying him in money or in body parts or possibly corpse fuckery.
Yeah. So he takes her home. At home, he caresses her face. He does a bit of a face waterfall. He puts makeup on her. He puts her in a nice, creepy turn-of-the-century dress that kind of matches
it was a wedding gown.
That is accurate. It is a wedding
Because it's
gown.
a veil.
It goes well with his pirate shirt, I think.
His gentleman's blouse.
That's right. He puts dinner on the table. He dances with her. He puts her in front of a TV. And the wedding and subsequent consummation is not shown, but it is heavily implied.
Yeah, it's guaranteed. Now, Tim, what's interesting is after he's done all of the things that you just listed, we then see Mr. Petty pacing back and forth, frustrated. He's wined her, he's dined her, he's banged her, and it's all going to plan as far as I could tell. And that's when you realize all of it's been in the service of bringing her back to life.
He wanted to bang that corpse awake.
Right. I'm no medical professional. I've been called it. I've acted as it, and I've been paid to do it, but I am not. Can that happen?
Yes.
I was not looking for you to answer.
Oh.
And I am deeply concerned that you did. So break it down. How does one bang a corpse back to life?
Well, so you know how in... You ever see Sleeping Beauty? She's just asleep. She's in a coma. Takes a kiss to wake her up. Mr. Petty, going by that same theory, thinks, okay, kiss wakes you up from a coma. Okay. This girl's dead. Gonna have to do a little more than... Yeah, gonna have to do a little more than kiss. I'm not saying it's gonna work. I'm just saying the logic checks out. But it doesn't work, or at least we're led to believe that it doesn't work. Because finally he carries her through a cave to a beach and kind of releases her into the ocean, at which point she opens her eyes after he has left.
Like all the others before, he eventually grows tired of his new toy and then sinks her into the ocean. I mean, that's what we watched. We watched a man steal a corpse, take it home, dress it up, make it dinner, have sex with it, allegedly, and then get frustrated that she has not come back to life, and so then he sinks her in the ocean.
All of which is inexplicably to the tune of Mary Jane's Last Dance by Tom Petty.
Right. So here's the fascinating part to me, well, it's all quite fascinating. To give you a sense of our culture and society at the time, this won the MTV Video Music Award for Best Male Video in 1994.
It beat out Beck's Loser, Tony Bennett's Stepping Out With My Baby, and Bruce Springsteen's Streets of Philadelphia, which would go on to win an Oscar. So here's the thing. All of this imagery, the visuals, if these were playing on top of Insane Clown Posse's I Found a Body from our Insane Clown Posse Christmas episode, fine.
Right.
It's even worse than the Insane Clown Posse song because he was lonely, he didn't have any friends, and so he stumbled upon a dead guy and was just like, well, this guy will be my friend. You know, he had a dead buddy. He didn't fuck that dead buddy. And you, as we all know, are much older than me and are likely to die well before me. And
Disagree.
It seems reasonable that I will probably keep your body around for several days before reporting that. And, you know, hang out, have some beers, whatever.
But
not going to
you're
bang
not gonna
that,
fuck
buddy.
me.
Right.
Thank you.
Right. So
appreciate that.
even the fact that I'm going to keep you around for days, maybe even a week, after your death without reporting it to anyone is less weird than this music video.
Weekend at Bernie's, hilarious 80s romp. You start fucking that corpse, everybody's leaving. That's not funny.
Yeah, that is a bad party. So I have some quotes. Tom Petty on why he thought Kim Basinger would be a good choice for this corpse. She's got to look really good, or why would he keep her around after she's dead? I thought Kim Basinger would be good. I'd probably keep her for a day or two.
So his thinking was, if we're going to be stealing corpses for the purposes of fucking them back to life, they've got to be super hot or no one's going to buy it.
Right, it has to be believable.
Yeah, his concern was authenticity. That's what makes him a classic artist. It wasn't about fucking the corpse.
No.
It was about you believing that he would and understanding it.
And I did.
Did and do. Passenger?
Basinger? I think it's Basinger. The music video also has a lot of apparent similarities with Charles Bukowski's story, The Copulating Mermaid of Venice, and there's a French film, Cold Moon, and Belgian film, Crazy Love, that are apparently based on that.
I've seen some of Crazy Love. It looks like this and is much more explicit. Great song, peculiar music video. So I want to ask Tim, do you hate this music video?
No, I don't hate it. I don't get it. I don't know why it would be on here, but it was fascinating.
Well, that's what we think of it, Tim. Let's hear from the internet, the masses. What does the general man on the street have to say about Tom Petty's Mary Jane's Last Dance?
John Literal on YouTube said, only Kim Basinger can make death look sexy. Haha.
That guy wants to have sex with a corpse.
This is Tyler Wilhelm. He says, one of my very close friends just passed recently. His rosary and funeral were just a few days ago. I had a terrible day today, remembering all the times we had. This song came into my head, and I decided to put the song on, and I see the music video. When Tom is a deceased corpse and tries to resurrect the good times he had with his deceased lover, I almost burst into tears because it couldn't just be a coincidence. I felt a little bit better knowing that this was some kind of sign.
Tim, I think this guy might have just cleared this whole music video up for me. I just assumed that he worked in that morgue.
I think he does.
I think that guy's saying he is also a corpse. Which is why he was lying down on the table.
Yeah, that makes sense, but...
The other guy that worked there saw him hanging out and was just like, oh, hey.
Right, but the security guard gave him a kind of...
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, the security guard knows. Maybe the security guard is the person we need to keep an eye on, because this security guard has made a deal with a dead man to...
That's even more fascinating.
Right.
This thing is layered.
A dead man woke up in this morgue, came to him and said, I'll give you some, $20-$30 a day. You just let me wheel some corpses out of here and do some weird stuff with them. That guy was like, yeah, I need $20.
I love a good question on this show. Typically, it would be, does he fuck? But we know that's the case. So the big question is Tom dead?
Here's
Yes.
the issue with that question, Garrett. He is very much dead. Maybe
In the
phrase it
video,
differently.
Tim, is Tom's character in the video dead?
I don't know. I can't imagine that reaction from the other corner, or from possibly the only corner and the security guard, would be their reaction if he was dead.
Understated for sure. Any final thoughts?
I just want this to be a PSA to tell people to go watch this, because it is fascinating and weird. Even if Tom Petty is dead, still doesn't make any goddamn sense to be with this song. Like, it makes a little bit more sense inside of the story, I guess.
Oh, sure, but it has nothing to do with the words that are being said. I think we can both confidently say we do not hate the song or the video. Let's move it along then. We get an inordinate amount of mail from our listeners, and it's awesome. We can't wait to do mailbag episodes, so we decided we'd focus on just a couple. We're not going to read 80 to you. Just a couple of interesting emails we've gotten recently. Now, it wouldn't be a lot of fun if we just sat here and read emails that praised us or said how much they enjoy the show, but we certainly love reading those, and thank you. So we said for the first one, why don't we focus on a little bit of hate? We hate albums, and these people hate us. And so we thought we'd read it to you and let you hear some of the feedback that we receive on a not too regular basis, but when we do, boy, are they fired up. Would you like to go first, Tim, or should I?
You go first.
All right, so this one is a fairly recent one. It is from Mandy, and this one's especially great because we have Tim's response. So first I will read the email we received from Mandy on March 5th, 2019. Mandy, hope you're listening. She wrote in and said, I've noticed on a few of your podcasts you seem to be guessing or coming to your own conclusions on some of the songs, which not only makes you sound ridiculous, misspelled, but you are putting down artists and their thoughts because of the songs. Yes, we are.
All of that's accurate so far.
Every word of it, even the misspelled ones. We do sound ridiculous. We are coming to our own conclusions, and we are, in fact, putting down the artists and their thoughts because of the songs that they make.
Mm-hmm. And I'm mostly guessing.
Oh, absolutely. Mandy continues on. I am listening to number 43, Carrie Underwood's Some Hearts, and wanted to let you know that Inside Your Heaven was the song that was written for the winner of American Idol. She didn't write it. I get that you may not be a fan of hers or some of the other people you have talked about on your podcast, but where do you get off making horrible remarks about artists and the fans without even knowing anything about the truth behind it? It's irresponsible and it's unnecessary. Oh, that bit about sociopaths? In this day and age where we are striving to destigmatize mental health, that right there shows how close-minded and immature you are. My 5 kids and I have been a Carrie Underwood fan from day one on American Idol, so she and her children are a single entity that loves Carrie Underwood. None of us are sociopaths. I knew every song on her greatest hits album. I can't say that about anyone else. Not even Reba, who I've been a huge fan of for almost 30 years. I know you probably don't care, but I will be unsubscribing and no longer listening. Fascinating. She does not know these are jokes. She listened to 42 previous episodes and subscribed.
Know that. We just know that she subscribed and listened to a good number of episodes.
Thank you again for listening. We appreciate it. And Mandy, we want to win you back. Tim, I want to applaud you. You took it upon yourself without any discussion with me whatsoever, which usually scares the shit out of me. And you responded to Mandy, and you did, dare I say, and I hate complimenting you, a fairly eloquent job. This is Tim's response to Mandy. Hi, Mandy. Thanks for the email. Sorry it took me so long to get back to you. We actually do quite a bit of research each week, mostly because with few exceptions, we are listening to music we aren't super familiar with. But yes, we often get bored with the artist's official explanation of songs and dream up alternate explanations and plot lines. The goal is usually to be as ridiculous as possible. We are very aware that she had little to nothing to do with writing any of the songs on the album. Her lack of input into her own music was mentioned repeatedly as a specific criticism of both the album and her as an artist. Out of curiosity, how many episodes did you listen to before the Carrie Underwood episode? As for sociopaths, if there is one group to not destigmatize, it would be them. Honestly, for everyone's safety, it's best to retain that as a psychiatric diagnosis. I'm guessing you semi-agree since you were so adamant about making sure to not be labeled that way. At any rate, according to the DSM-5, sociopaths, really people with antisocial personality disorders, are often extremely good at hiding their little secret from the world. So it's entirely possible that one of your children could in fact be a sociopath, and you may never know. It's fairly unlikely, though. The prevalence is only about 1 to 3% of the general population, and it requires a patient to be 18 years or older. So, depending on the age of the child, that particular diagnosis may not apply to your kids anyway. Lastly, would you happen to have a suggestion for a Reba McEntire album for us? Sorry to hear that the show wasn't for you, but thanks for giving it a try. We really do appreciate every listen, Tim. Pretty good stuff.
She never responded. I never got a Reba McEntire recommendation.
And that's the kind of response you get from us. Thorough, honest feedback.
Yeah, and also implying that you should never trust your children because they might be sociopaths.
You don't know.
No one knows.
Nobody's quite figured out what makes one. I know how to make one, but you also can't account for all of them that way.
No, you did not have a hand in all sociopaths. I agree. We have another email here. This is from KYS. You are pretentious. Never say anything substantive, and if you didn't have each other's insecure asses to make yourself seem like it's okay to pedantically mimic the pseudo-intellectuals you so want to emulate, then you would probably never have made this podcast. You suck, you are not interesting, clever, or producing anything of value. Also, you criticize the most hated albums ever, but don't say anything new or funny. You must be super fun at parties.
Man, I love that. Pseudo-intellectuals we wish we were. Well, I certainly don't hope to be a pseudo-intellectual.
Yeah, you'd think that most people would attempt to emulate intellectuals and end up as pseudo-intellectuals.
We don't get many of these emails, but when we do, they're so impassioned, whether they're Mandy, who went on for quite some time, or this dude who just is so furious at us for just making, jokes. We're just making some jokes.
Mine are not jokes. Everything I say is 100% accurate.
First mailbag segment of the new show format. They won't always be negative. We get a lot of really funny emails. If you want to hear your email on the show, write in. Go to hatepod.com, click on Contact Us in the upper left-hand corner. As you noticed, we don't read your email or your last name. It's just a single name. We want the funny stories, the comments, the theories, the artwork. It's all awesome. So send it in, and we'll feature it on the show, both in here and occasionally we'll also do full mailbag episodes. That brings us to another new segment of the show, Tim. Music news of the weird, or where are they now? I've got a few interesting stories, and then I'm going to let you round out this section. Music news of the weird. Apparently, J-Devil in 2015 was reported repeatedly to be working on an album with Big and Rich, though I could not find a single story that ever referenced the final product.
No, I don't think it happened. You saw pictures of this monstrosity, right?
Oh, yeah.
Did you notice anything about J-Devil?
Yes. Would you like to share with the listener?
My theory is J-Devil is a David Cross character.
I think you're 100% right. Living a real life that accidentally became incredibly successful, but is a stage character developed by the comedian David Cross.
Looks exactly like him. It's super weird.
It's so odd. It is the only way to explain why somebody would have hair that ridiculous, to distract from the fact that it's obviously David Cross. Moving on to the next musical news of the weird. Good news for you Metallica fans out there. They have added 2 additional dates to their upcoming Australian tour. Unfortunately, don't get there too early. They're touring with Slipknot.
Oh.
Who do you think has headline? That's got to be Metallica, right?
Absolutely. They're also doing S&M 20-year anniversary in San Francisco. I really want there to be an opening set by Slipknot at that where they attempt to play with an orchestra as well. Every one of those symphony members are forced to wear some sort of vomit-filled mask before they play with Metallica.
6ix9ine, Tim. You remember 6ix9ine?
Oh, God, yeah.
We said a lot of questionable and potentially rude things about Mr. 6ix9ine because at the time he was facing racketeering charges that could have had him in prison for as long as 40 to 50 years. Unfortunately, Tim, I've got some news on the 6ix9ine front. He recently entered a guilty plea and is awaiting his trial where he could be sentenced to a term as short as a year and a half. He could be released in the year 2020.
He's going to murder us, isn't he?
It's possible. Former manager Kefano Shoddy Jordan has also entered a guilty plea for 2 weapons charges related to the case. Jensel Ish Butler, which by all accounts means his nickname is Shit, has admitted to, quote, knowingly using and carrying firearms, and in furtherance of such crime, did possess firearms, and did aid and abet the use, carrying, and possession of firearms, some of which were brandished.
It's a complicated charge.
Why isn't he charged with robbery or armed robbery? I think they just described armed robbery.
It does sound like it.
I mean, if I point a gun at you, at what point is it attempted murder? When I fire the gun? What if I just don't know how to fire a gun, but I would have if I knew how?
Let's not find out.
It's a legal gray area for sure.
I don't think that's accurate.
All right, Tim, that rounds out my music news of the weird / where are they now? But you have something very special, something missed, something that fell through the cracks, and I don't know anything about it other than a title you texted me the other day. Tell us this secret that you've learned.
Garrett, there is 21 Pilots fan fiction. So much of it.
What does that mean?
So Saracel1 on Instagram introduced me to this entire world of insanity. And I may have to quit this podcast to dedicate more time to reading 21 Pilots fanfiction.
You have to explain what it is first.
It's basically fans of the band who have written stories about these people's lives and have published it on the internet.
Published is the wrong word.
There is fanfiction based on the Black Parade, and honestly, it's based on most of the bands we do. And some of the ones for 21 Pilots are very simple. They're stories about Taijo eating bad tacos and things like that. But most of it, Garrett, is very, very sexual.
It's erotic.
It
erotic
is,
fan fiction.
Yes. Garrett, the best one, and I say that honestly, the best one. For those that don't want to ruin this, if you would like to read this on your own, just fast forward a little bit.
There's
can
no
Google.
spoiler. Oh, no, shut up. There's no spoiler alert for 21 Pilots fan fiction, you asshole.
All right, okay.
Just
fine,
read your creepy, weird, erotic novel
we
can move on.
The best one is about a young boy named Tyler who has a possibly imaginary friend named Josh. Josh is genuinely Taijo's Hobbs, and Taijo seems to have synesthesia, or possibly the author has synesthesia, and he wrote that in because he thinks it's a normal part of everyone's life. Taijo is going to a psychiatrist, Dr. Paulson. It's heavily implied that he's being molested by this doc. It seems to me that Dr. Paulson did something untoward to young Taijo. Now, previously, Taijo went to Dr. Craig. Even the mention of that name deeply upsets his imaginary friend Josh. They don't talk about it too much, but later we find out that Dr. Craig definitely molested Taijo. Now, in the story, Taijo comes out to his mom, but he...
Why are you laughing?
Garrett, it's amazing. This story is ridiculous. Taijo comes out to his mom. He's clearly in love with Josh, and they find a treehouse together in the woods. Now, that's going to come back later.
Hold on. Isn't Josh an imaginary friend?
Possibly.
Okay, continue.
Okay.
Just making sure I'm tracking this here.
There is a sensual kiss between his boy and, again, possibly imaginary friend, which leads into what is both the most and least graphic sex scene imaginable. It's described in very synesthesia-like terms. It's gross.
What does that mean? It's described in very synesthesia-like terms.
Everything he says is, it was feeling a color at this point. It gets weird. Eventually, he tells his mom that he had sex with Josh, who again she believes to be imaginary. Then the relationship with Josh turns abusive. Josh hits Taijo, and they have to go back to the psychiatrist, who eventually reveals repressed memories of Dr. Craig and the molestation. Now, Garrett.
Wait, hold on. Was Dr. Paulson was molested by Dr. Craig?
Oh, no. Taijo was molested by Dr.
Well, yeah,
Craig.
that's obvious.
Then it ends with self-immolation.
Wait.
He sets the treehouse on fire, kills himself, and then, Garrett, Josh attends the funeral. He was real the whole time. Maybe. Go read it. It's great, and everyone should read it.
I don't know. I feel like you read a lot of this behind a locked door, and we don't have a lot of locked doors in our house, so what's that about?
I read it in the bath, ran myself a nice warm bath. I set up some candles. Yeah, it's not important.
For the purposes of this podcast, can we say that Tyler was 19?
Sure.
Just, God damn it, dude. This has soured me on our first episode of the in-between episodes. Fantastic news of the weird / where are they now? Tim, you hit both buckets. That is both weird and an update on a previous artist from the show. What would fascinate me is to learn that Tyler was secretly writing 21 Pilots fan fiction and posting it online.
Completely possible.
Good Lord. I am nervous that you have now introduced the concept of fan fiction to the audience.
Garrett, you introduced the concept of fan fiction to the audience when you wrote a bunch of fan fiction about several of these bands.
Boy, when you put it like that, I really don't feel great about myself.
Yeah.
All right, Tim. That brings us to the next segment on the show. Tim, next week, April 16th, what album will you and I be talking about?
We will be talking about Halsey's debut album, Badlands, released August 28th, 2015. This was a suggestion by Jill Pickett of the Facebooks.
Now you guys know what to bone up on. Halsey. Tim, obviously we can't really get into it yet, but I am curious. Do you have any preconceived notions of Halsey going into this week?
I don't really have much experience with her. I know she was on the Justin Bieber album we listened to, and I have heard a cover of Johnny Cash's I Walk the Line from that needless Power Ranger movie trailer.
I assume you watched that entire film. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I knew her from Bieber's album, and I had heard maybe one other song, I think, on a podcast. My first inclination is to say I think she's probably a very talented singer. I'm concerned her breathy, smoky voice will just become very irritating and monotonous over the course of the album.
I'm expecting quite a bit of female empowerment.
Oh, there better be.
I'm sort of expecting a Lana Del Rey thing, which is another album I was tricked into downloading in like 2012.
I was about to say, I don't know what the fuck that means. Well, Tim, I think that wraps up our very first ever mini-sode, In-Betweener, Kasangle. We'll see. I don't know.
Prepisode?
We'll keep working. Prepisode could be a Prepisode number 1. God, I like Prepisode. And
yeah, I'm
you're
glad
right,
I came
know
up
what the
with
fuck
it.
it
It's
is. You didn't.
kind of fitting.
You didn't, you son of... I wrote you an email several days ago. So, folks, we'll be back with Halsey next week. Same show you've come to know and love. We hope you enjoy the new format. We'll keep working on it, refining it, pounding out that blade till it is razor sharp. As always, please rate, review, subscribe, get the word out, tell your friends, scream in a stranger's face, print out our website on several pieces of paper and hand them out on the streets of your hometown. Nothing crazy. Go to our website. You can reach out to us at hatepod.com. You can download every episode we've ever done in any format you could ever want. Write us an email by clicking on contact in the upper left-hand corner, or you can directly email us at hatePodMail@gmail.com. Tell us what you like, what you don't like, funny stories, interesting questions. Tell us albums you'd like to hear. You'll end up on one of these episodes. You can reach out to us on Instagram at hatepod. You can get us on Twitter at albumhatepod. You can get us on YouTube. I don't know, Google it. We're everywhere. Tim, did I leave anything out?
Nope.
For Why I Hate This Album, I have been one of your hosts, Garrett Harvey.
I have been the other, Tim Richardson.
The riffs are too repetitive, the lyrics make no sense. All the songs are B-sides and the cover art's a mess. There's so much here to tear apart. Listen to it for a week, now that we has passed. It's Why I Hate This Album podcast with Tim and Garrett.